Welcome to another episode of Views from an Old Polish Perspective. We're going to call this another week in review, this being basically the first week of November 2023. Happy Veterans Day to all you veterans out there. Thank you for your service. And I hope we get a president in there that's going to look out for you guys. A little bit more on that later. But what are we seeing in the news this week? Well, we've seen 100,000 Palestinians protesting in Washington, D.C. As a matter of fact, they're protesting all over the world, but they're estimating 100,000 in Washington, D.C. alone. What does that mean? It means the job numbers for Biden are going to go way up. Yeah. Are they being paid? Someone's supplying all of those signs, all those flags, all of those, and guess what? They're all wearing masks again. So that should be no surprise to us. What else are we seeing? We're seeing that little firebrand that goes by the name of Marjorie Taylor Greene introduce bills to lower the salary of underperforming cabinet members. Now, don't forget, first day that Biden got in office, Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill to impeach him, and it still hasn't hit the floor yet. But we're waiting on that. Okay, Pete Buttigieg was one of those that Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill to lower his salary down to $1.
Have come up with a good idea for paying underperforming politicians.
I love this. How can we get it trending here? I'm being dead serious. You may have heard of Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg. He's best known for doing absolutely nothing about transport and everything about his favourite pet projects. Most recently, check out his $1 billion plan to make roads less racist. You heard it here first. Roads are racist. He's also best known for not visiting until 2 weeks after the disaster that happened in East Palestine, Ohio.
Now, of course, that was a long list, and we don't need to get into every single detail of why he's been underperforming, but you get the general idea. Now, there's another one by the name of Claudia Tenney. She's a Republican out of New York. There's Republicans in New York. Anyway, she introduced an amendment to reduce White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre's salary to $1.
To reduce the salary of Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, to $1. Mr. Speaker, during Ms. Jean-Pierre's tenure as press secretary, she has repeatedly lied to the American people and acted in a condescending manner toward reporters and also violated the Hatch Act. Just to name a few of her lies, Ms. Jean-Pierre has claimed, 1, illegal immigration is down under the Biden administration. She also claimed nobody is just walking in across the southern border. She also claimed that the 2016 election was stolen. She also claimed that Governor Brian Kemp stole the 2018 governor's race from Stacey Abrams. She also claimed that Biden's stimulus bill did not impact inflation. She also claimed that critical race theory, or its equivalent, isn't being taught in our schools.
Now, I'm not going to play the full video because the list is just too long. Of course, you get the general idea. Of course, we got to be fair. It's not fair unless we listen to the facts presented from the other side. The opposition to reducing Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre's salary to $1.
And with that, I reserve.
The gentlewoman from New York reserves. The gentleman, for what purpose is the
Claim
gentleman?
of time in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized.
This is another unserious amendment. We've had over 50 of these. Everyone that has been put to a roll call vote has lost. This one will as well, I hope, and I yield. I reserve the balance of my time.
Maryland reserves. The gentlewoman.
Well, based on the opposition, I guess they had no facts. Of course they're going to oppose it, but we saw the introduction or the reprisal, whatever you call it, to that. Well, the amendment to reduce White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre's salary to $1 failed, but good old Pete got the message. His bill passed. Now, watching these videos and listening to those long list of failures and lies, something dawned on me. And this is a logical question we should examine. We basically know, and most of us agree, we are hearing a pack of lies and seeing a host of distractions out of the White House and so many offices held by Democrats. That goes way down to the local level. And of course, we got the good old leftist news to back them up. We could go on for hours on just the distractions, but let's focus on one subject: those job numbers and the state of the economy. I had to ask myself, if Biden was lying about employment, inflation, and other key figures affecting the economy, how do we know Trump wasn't lying about those figures? How do we know Trump was telling the truth and Biden was lying, or, vice versa, or whatever? Okay, the next logical step was to gather a few figures and examine the facts. The thought also occurred to me, the leftist news keeps using the term fact checkers. The first thought to enter my head was Hitler simply called that propaganda. Now, being Veterans Day, I'd like to thank all of those who served and point out another detail about Joe we just can't ignore. While we're facing the threat of wars and a number of fronts, Joe is signing another one of his famous executive orders to fire any federal employee who uses the wrong pronouns. Now, under this administration, it's sad to say, freaks who can't hold a job claim they are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which normally we hear that in terms of our combat veterans. Well, these freaks are claiming post-traumatic stress disorder because someone used the wrong pronoun. So what does the government do? They put them on Social Security disability, and with all the bonuses that Social Security disability receives every couple of months, those people claiming they're suffering so much because someone used the wrong pronouns receive more money and better attention than our war veterans who actually faced combat. Now, let's take a look at a few economic facts. I use personal real-life examples. I'm in real estate. Under Trump, I averaged about 12 sales a year, which after 20 years, I had over 200 sales, so let's just call it an average of 10 sales per year. Or under Trump, it was about one sale a month. That pretty much sticks to the previous 20 years. Okay, housing prices under Trump increased the average of about 3 to 8%, depending on the year. Okay, that kept real estate as one of the most secure investments, and it always has been. Okay, under Trump, interest rates hit all-time lows somewhere in the 3% range, and some even better than 3%, less than 3%. Inflation hovered around 3% or less, and gas prices hit lows not seen in years. Well, we can ignore the employment rate for the moment because the other factors will verify those numbers. Now, help-wanted signs were seen all over the place during the Trump years. Now, wages increased to attract workers, but that did not affect inflation at a very high rate, which was right around 2.5–3%. Okay, and under Trump, money was spent on defense, but that was nothing like the levels we see today with money going to Ukraine and other countries. In some cases, actually funding both sides of a war. In essence, real-life facts showed Trump's simple plan worked. Sell oil to the world and have the world finance U.S. growth and prosperity. It worked. Selling oil brought in all kinds of money. Trump also cut aid to other countries. They had to fund their own wars, so for 4 years, there were no wars. Now that we see funding from Biden to all these countries, they're more than willing to spend our money and start another war wherever. So what happened? Well, first off, first day in office, Biden cut oil production, which raised the price of gasoline, which raised the price of everything, shooting inflation into double figures. Some products saw triple-figure increases, some as high as 300%. Just take a look at what you see in the grocery store. Prices tripled, and we were told inflation was at 3%. That's this new Democrat math. One major concern was consumer confidence. People stopped buying and started saving just before the election because they didn't know what was going to happen. There's nothing wrong with saving money, but there's a big difference between saving and refusing to buy, or worse yet, not being able to buy the things you want because the price of the things you need went up so high. Gas was only one factor, followed by food. And there's one thing about food that we should really look into, the fact checkers need to check. Did all the members of the WEF all raise their prices on food and other goods and services all at the same time? We have another factor that we got to take a look at. With all the damage caused during the 2020 election riots, of course, insurance shot up. I mean, since Biden took office, my insurance has doubled in 2021, 2022, 2023, it went up again. So we're being hit on all sides, all fronts. Okay, state and local taxes also increased, and I'm looking at the cost of my car license that also went up, and other government fees followed suit. So, everything is going up in price. Now, I did a video comparing the steps the government took to get us out of the real estate crash in 2008 and steps that Biden took since 2021. Biden has done the exact opposite of what was done in 2008 to save the economy. In 2008, they cut interest rates. Biden has been raising interest rates since he took office. That is one major factor affecting the economy, growth, employment, and the general state of the nation. Interest rates. You pay higher interest rates on everything, your charge cards and all this other stuff. And, I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and take a guess on what's going to happen. The reason Biden wants to forgive student loans is, let's say that he's going to forgive $75,000 in student loans. Well, they've got that student loan at a low 3 to 5% interest rate. It's a low interest rate. Well, he forgives that $75,000. My guess is they're going to go out thinking they got $75,000 in their pocket now. They're going to put $75,000 in their charge card, and now they're going to be paying 25% on the interest rate instead of the 3 to 5. That's the kind of mentality we're living with today. And then the banks are really going to love it because instead of making 3 to 5%, they're going to be making 20 to 25%. But what are we going to do? Bail them out again? Come on. Time we start thinking. Okay, the open border's not helping either. Now let's just take a look at a number of blue cities that are paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million a day to deal with illegal immigrants. Well, that doesn't take into account increased crime rates and funds to deal with everything from police to the court system and the jail systems. I mean, if we put all of those figures together, how much is that costing us? Now, that's a perfect example of Democrat planning. Because the Democrats say, oh, we're going to save the world. We're going to be nice and kind and help people. That's what Democrats say they're going to do. Which is good if you have a plan and a budget. What we're seeing is how unprepared Democrats are when it comes to anything and everything. To sum up all the statistics and facts we're fed today, consumer confidence is at an all-time low. Prices and interest rates are at all-time highs. And we're being fed a pack of lies when we're told Bidenomics is working. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Bidenomics is so successful we can afford to send billions of dollars to other countries to fund wars, to look into gender studies, and buy our oil from Iran, who, of course, is threatening us. And then we look at the speeches coming out of Iran and Syria and all this other stuff. They have, how come these other countries have the immigration figures to prove they can make life in the U.S. and all over the world miserable? Now, taking a few true life experiences tells us something about life before and after 2021. Look around. What do you think? Now, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment. Share this if you want to. But thanks for tuning in. And boy, I wish I had better news.